I don't watch no Scrubs. Scrubs is a show that aired in 2003, showing us the regular lives of two medical guys named Turk and JD.
Hey, fun fans, it's We Enjoy. This week in the main event, we will be discussing 1999's The Matrix, directed by the Wachowskis. Eric, do you know the difference between the dream world and the real world?
I would like to think I do, but, you know, who can really say, Matt? There's a question. But here's one thing I can
One thing I know about the real world is that it's the true story of seven strangers picked to live in a loft
right.
and have their lives recorded.
The one thing I know, Matt, is that I can taste your stink.
Oh, okay. I mean, I would accept that as you quoting the movie, or if you just wanted to tell me that too.
Even over Zoom.
Even over Zoom, it's that powerful. Yeah, my human being stench just permeates. Right. We are the Mattitude, Eric. I am Matt Fowler. Say hello, Eric Goldman.
Hello, everyone. I mean, I assume most people did watch The Matrix, but if you didn't, that was a line from The Matrix I was just quoting.
Or was it? I don't know.
Or was it?
I mean, I had to think for like a few seconds.
I didn't even try to do like, the Hugo Weaving, and he does we'll talk about what a great, interesting performance he gives. I can taste your stink. Like, yeah, he gives it that. And
then
weaving.
He like sticks his fingers up his nose, and he like, and he goes,
he's like touching his head. Yeah,
yeah, he's like licking his ear. I don't know. He's like,
I think he likes the steak more than he's willing to admit.
He does. I mean, he says he wants to get out of the Matrix because he can't stand it, but I think Agent Smith protests too much. Last night I went to a secret screening at Alamo Drafthouse Richardson. So here in DFW at a very specific Alamo location, ever since 2013, they do a secret screening every month that is sponsored by the AGFA, which is the American Genre Film Archive. Mm-hmm. And it's just a bunch of, it's a nonprofit that restores 35 millimeter prints of like B movies and horror movies and genre movies. I think it's all in the name there. And I always thought it was funny because somebody actually has a blog out there that kept a running list of every monthly movie that's been shown. They've shown Shakma twice, actually, Eric.
Oh, nice.
I went to my first ever secret screening March of 2020.
Right.
And then everything shut down. So this was officially, and apparently they had one last October, a year ago, when things may have been opening up and they were like, hey, let's do this. And then everything closed down again.
It was probably right in that weird, like, right, Tenant had just opened. We're like, we're trying to reopen.
And so anyway, this was officially, we're back, baby. And, this month is the 8th anniversary, 7th, 8th, because it's 2013. And it's not a secret screening in the fact that like no one knows about it. You buy a ticket to this.
You don't know what movie it is.
Exactly. You don't know what movie it is going in. So you kind of have to be somebody that can be accepting of gore, usually gore, a lot of horror, but not always. They'll do Miami Connection too. They'll do like like these awful action movies or sci-fi or something like that too. So you never really know. So the one I saw previous to this was Wing Chun, which had Michelle Yeoh in it from like 93 or 4, and it was awesome. So that was just basically a Chinese martial arts film. This was, and then last night wasn't a movie. What? Interestingly enough, I even made a joke on Instagram when I posted a picture of the marquee that said secret screening, and I just went, I hope it's a movie. Har har. Guess what? It wasn't even a fucking movie. It was the AGFA horror trailer show. So it was like sort of like 90 minutes of old horror movie trailers from basically the 60s and 70s and 80s. So like I Drink Your Blood, I Eat Your Skin, to like anything from like erotica, witch stuff to foreign stuff to old Dracula starring David Niven.
Nice.
But yeah, so that was interesting. It was an interesting outing. I enjoyed it.
That sounds fun. I've been going to Beyond Fest, which is happening. Beyond Fest, they actually did it last year at the drive-in, an hour to 90 minutes away, depending on traffic. And I went to a couple things last year, like the Freaky pseudo premiere happened. But of course, they couldn't do Q&As. They had some filmed intros and stuff. But yeah, Beyond Fest is happening now, and they did Halloween Kills the other night. And I'm going to this coming weekend. The Don Mancini will be there with some of the cast for the premiere episode of Chucky, followed by the original Child's Play. But on Sunday, awesome time at a triple feature. All of movies that I would recommend, even though I have my official choice later on for as we're recommending spooky stuff this month. But it was Freddy versus Jason, You're Next, and Evil Dead 2013, all with Q&As after, which I was excited for, but a little wary because I'm like, is this going to just feel like a super long day with all these Q&As and everything? As much as I like him,
sounds a lot. Sounds like a lot.
But I was talking about it with a friend of the podcast, Brent Simons, and friend other April, that we talk about some things, who the three of us went to this, and how it was a very well programmed triple feature for two reasons. All three movies were about 90 minutes, a little bit over, but just about 90 minutes. So they're short movies anyway. They're all very fun. They're you and I, as people who can appreciate slower, more ponderous movies, a triple feature might not work so well for that. But these are all fun, peppy movies that invite audience participation and cheering. And they kept the Q&As tight. It's like they made sure they obviously had good meetings beforehand about that they weren't going to be long Q&As because they couldn't be. So yeah, I loved it. Everything was great, but especially You're Next, which I saw 3 times in the theater, but was never a big hit. This was a packed audience, and even the film, Adam Wingard was there, and Simon Barrett, and Barbara Crampton, and Sharni Visnan, and the producers, and they all said how they saw it when it first debuted at Fantastic Fest, but this was probably the best crowd they'd ever seen it with, just a sold out crowd cheering and getting really hyped up. And when maybe I'll officially talk about Your Next at another point, but great movie to watch with an audience. So Wingard was like, if I never see this movie again, this would be the greatest experience to never see my movie again.
I wish Wingard would go back to the smaller horror movies than his Godzilla versus Kong movie, which I enjoyed, but I wish he would do more Your Next and The Guests and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was.
I know he sort of got raked over the coals for Death Note on Netflix for various reasons, but yeah.
Right. I hope so too. We can make that back and forth. I know it's tricky once you're part of the studio system, and it's tricky when Godzilla versus Kong is a huge hit, because now it's they wanted to do all these big things. But it'd be cool. It's funny because people brought Sharni Visnan, Vincent. There, I said it right. The star of that movie. If you watch Your Next, you kind of feel like she should be a bigger star than she is, and she's Australian. And they said it was funny when someone asked about a sequel, and he's and they don't want to do a sequel to Your Next, but they did. I think it was Wingard who said, yeah, but watching that, we're we should do some movie with Sharni in the Outback. So yeah,
okay. He's going from Godzilla versus Kong to the Thundercats, which I'm excited for. The glorious purpose of making a giant live action Thundercats blockbuster, but it could be anybody. I'm not oh yes, Wingard's doing it. Now I'm excited. It's when it comes to these giant, massive budgeted movies, who's behind it becomes less important than who's behind something like The Guest or, You're Next.
I think I'm more excited, and not just because I don't know Thundercats as well, but I'm more excited for him doing Face Off, because it's him and Barrett together again. Barrett didn't have anything to do with Godzilla versus Kong, who wrote Your Next and The Guest, but they're doing Face Off together. And it just feels there's a more innate, be weird with Face Off,
right.
That
I
think they'll lean into.
You can also do Face Off smaller.
Yes.
If need be. It doesn't have to be the Travolta Cage blowout it was. All right. We are talking about The Matrix in the main event today. Since we're franchising this shit, next week is The Matrix Reloaded, also on HBO Max.
Yep.
Or on our socials, you can find Eric and myself over on Twitter at the Matt Fowler and the Eric Goldman. You can find the podcast there as well at We Enjoy Podcast. And on Patreon, we for a couple bucks a month, you can get a commercial-free version of this podcast. You can also email us at weenjoypodcast@gmail.com. And if you listen to us on Apple Podcasts, formerly iTunes, please give us a 5-star Frog Splash rating and write a little note. Also, Eric, maybe we should start making little videos for the Patreon, like little videos like, hey, look at my hot toys, and you can like make a little video.
I was thinking of this too, Matt, about what can we do special for the Patreon.
Well, I'm just saying, like, you have a lot, you got a house full of toys there. You should film some of it, and like, especially like film your Chucky shit for next week, and then put it on the Patreon feed. All right. Speaking of movies that are tight 90s, which Eric just was from Beyond Fest. Venom Let There Be Carnage, a tight 90, did pretty well for itself over this past week.
I'd say it did very well for itself.
It pretty much blew its highest expectations out of the water, which I think its highest expectation was like 65 million.
Yeah.
And everything's graded on a curve because of the pandemic, but this then all of a sudden when you got something like Shang-Chi or Venom that drop numbers that make you feel like you're not in a pandemic, really, like
right.
With a sort of a 90 million bow over the weekend, and now as of Tuesday night we're recording this, it's about 110 million in domestic.
It's crazy because like you said, there's the COVID curve, and so it's like everyone's like, okay, look, Venom was a huge hit, and it was a much bigger hit than people expected anyway, but everyone figured. When you combine the fact that it was hard to gauge because Venom did not get good reviews, but it did really well, but you just don't know. We just saw an example of a movie that got bad reviews, didn't do well, and had a sequel that bombed, which was The Suicide Squad, even though we love that movie, but facts are facts. Even though there is the extra caveat that it was an HBO Max, which Venom 2 is not. But
this beats Black Widow, which was also released over on Z Channel.
Yes,
it's on Disney Plus,
D Channel Plus, but also it beats Shang-Chi, which was not on Disney Plus. So it's the biggest opening, not of the pandemic. You can also just say it's the biggest opening since Star Wars Episode 9.
Well, so I have not seen Venom Let There Be Carnage.
Mm-hmm.
I sent Eric a text, and I knew the answer. I knew the answer to this, but I sent Eric a text. Basically, was like, Eric, do I have to see this because it may connect to larger things? And he's like, whether it's, the Sonyverse or the MCU or the eventual merger between the two using Tom Holland's Spider-Man, is there something post-credit or inside or in a cameo that I need to see? He wasn't specific. He just said yes. And I said, God damn it, I knew it. I have to see this movie. They're going to make me fill up on the bread again. This is how they get you. I don't want to see it. I didn't like the first movie.
Yeah.
My kids fucking loved the first movie, and apparently a lot of people did because it made a lot of money.
Yeah.
I didn't like the first movie, so it's not like I would never see this movie.
Right.
It's just now I have to see it sort of fast. I guess I don't care about spoilers. I'm pretty much predicting I will be spoiled before I wind up seeing this movie, just because of how online I am. But I'm not clamoring to see Venom Let There Be Carnage. I appreciate that it's short. I like Woody Harrelson. There are elements of it. I hear it's insane, which I guess the first one kind of was too. This might be more insane. But this is how they fucking, get the nerdlings in like me who have to see it because it's part of a larger fabric,
But but also just, ultimately the success of this does speak to people's love of these Venom movies because that's what I forgot to say. It's like Shang-Chi is a character most people are not familiar with, where Venom has been around for decades and has been a super popular villain and or anti-hero with a movie that already did well. Right. But I think the expectation still was two things, which was everyone who went to see that first one didn't love it, and so maybe again, because the first one's so overperformed,
unless they're my children, yes,
right, and because the first one's so overperformed, this would still be considered a big success if it made 2/3 of what the first one did, but also the pandemic curve, so no one expected it to match, or very few people I should say, match the 80 million opening weekend the first one surprised everyone with. So when it made 90 million instead, that's like you said, it
turns out
it felt like there was no pandemic.
The real fans were actually Carnage fans. That's right. They didn't give a shit about Venom at all. They were waiting for the Carnage to show up. It just surpassed everything. And also, this movie is one of the ones like No Time to Die. Everything got delayed, but some things got bounced around a lot, and this one got bounced around a lot. Even like as recent as a few weeks ago, where they bounced it a few weeks ahead.
They pushed it 3 weeks. No, they pushed it 3 weeks later and then moved it back up 2 weeks.
Yeah, then they brought it back.
After Shang-Chi, again, it's so funny how reactionary everything is, right? Because it was like, oh shit, Suicide Squad bombed.
So let's push Venom further down the road.
They pushed it further, and then Shang-Chi opened huge, and they were like, well, let's get it out again. So,
well, the fact that maybe there are fewer movies releasing right now because of pandemic times, it allows them that freedom to just yo-yo their movie around.
Yeah, I mean, but then it's just a strange situation because September after Shang-Chi, it was a dead zone for movies. Like Shang-Chi was like this big, huge release, made a shitload of money. But then because of all the ping ponging and people getting scared, there was nothing else in September, which was great for Shang-Chi. But now we actually have a strange October where suddenly it feels like summer because every weekend for 4 weekends in a row is a huge movie starting this weekend. Starting last weekend. It was like, it just Venom into Bond, into Halloween, into Dune. So it's just a funny thing where it was like the feast or famine, right?
Well, it's like because everything got pushed down the road, things that would line up for a summer are now a season later. It doesn't matter. As we learned all throughout these COVID times, time isn't real. Everyone, everything's virtual now. Everything's online. Everyone's zooming. Who's zooming who? That's what Aretha Franklin was actually singing about. So, Eric.
Yes.
As someone who is a few weeks younger than me, making me the old here, please explain to me, what is a Squid Game?
Well, here's the thing. The only person in my immediate vicinity, I know a lot of people on Twitter who've seen Squid Game, and I know a shitload of people in the world have seen Squid Game, but the only person I could talk to quickly, knowing they've watched it, that I talk to fairly regularly is my mother-in-law. So we need to get her on.
Judy?
Not Judy.
Oh, mother-in-law, not stepmother. Okay.
Yeah, Trish's mom, Madeline. So who Trish said was watching Squid Game on her iPhone with earbuds in at the dentist lobby making woo.
Oh my goodness. Does Christopher Nolan know how she was watching Squid Game?
Well, yeah, but that's the thing. If you release on Netflix, you ask for that. So I have not seen Squid Game. The only thing I've watched for Squid Game was I see images on Twitter, and I watched. Actually, I sent to Trish and her mom because they're from the Philippines a tweet from Netflix Philippines that was like a specific kind of viral marketing they did for Squid Game.
Well, it's a global hit. It's so. Here's one thing I learned recently about Squid Game is that it's an actual scripted drama. I thought so too. I thought it was a real game show. I thought it was reality. I thought it was just a kooky Southeast Asian game show like thing. Masked Singer or something that wasn't Americanized here. We were just watching the actual Korean version of it. And I thought it was real. Little did I know that it was actually, I didn't realize somebody just basically made a series about climbing for dollars. It's basically also Series 7, which is a movie I should recommend at some point.
Yeah, and I mean, of course, because of when it's opening, I mean, everything people compare to recent things. So people are like, it's like the Hunger Games, which when the Hunger Games came out, it was like Battle Royale, and I did a whole article.
But not me. I'm going back to the Running Man.
Right. But when Hunger Games came out, and it kind of pissed me off that everyone's like, it's a Battle Royale ripoff. I'm like, no, this is just a concept that has been done a million times. It's just an interesting concept. I'm a liar, I realized, though, and my sister was the first person in my life I knew was watching it because she texted me going, oh my God, Squid Game, but I still thought it was some kind of competition reality show. So
yeah, I thought it was something like, not like Bake Off, but I thought it was something that it was intense. I thought there were probably obstacle courses where you had to eat something gross, like yes. Squid was consumed at some point. But yeah, so it's actually a drama about a dystopian game show where people who are whose lives have been ruined by debt play games, Korean childhood games that if you lose, you get killed.
Right.
And these, I guess these are real childhood games in South Korea. Also, one thing I know about South Korea is that they, this also, and people, because Parasite became so huge here, winning Oscars all over the place. The what is it? The class system, the basically the societal split between the wealthy and the have-nots is huge in South Korea. So people in debt and people who can't climb out of it, the poverty realm is, so that's also something that's being addressed here. And the creator of this and director of this actually did write it because during a time when he was in serious, forlorn debt.
I mean, definitely. I mean, one thing that you can't escape. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying one thing a lot of people are tweeting about is like, it was a show years in the making that he, came up with the idea over a decade ago. So it's a persevere idea thing about, like, because everyone turned it down, and it took forever for it to actually get made. I know it's this monster hit. It's also just fascinating, with Netflix, of course, because we talk about Netflix is quantity over quality, and Netflix puts out 52 weeks a year. They are putting out shows and movies. And how many do you feel like resonate? Like, because they put a lot more than 52 shows. They put it feels like hundreds of shows. If not dozens.
There's dozens of new shows that drop a week. It's
right.
Yeah.
So who the hell knows? Because someone Julia Alexander, who does a lot of kind of analysis of streaming stuff on Twitter, she was pointing out, it's like, look, like they might have had a feeling like they picked up Squid Game for a reason. It's like, they thought there's an audience for this. But if they thought this was going to be like one of their big shows, you would have seen billboards for it. You would have seen the fact that this became one of those lucky ones every year that people actually talk about.
But it's not only that. It's not only like that, which we always can go back to Stranger Things for that. But Ted Sarandos, the Netflix co-CEO, basically he said whatever metrics he says that he's not sharing, we know it's globally popular. We can put it on Netflix right now and see that it's ranked number 1 according to what they want to share with us. He said that it has a very good chance it's going to be their biggest show ever.
Right.
And we're talking globally here. And I first noticed it when I noticed that there was something that wasn't Midnight Mass at number 1 in the weekend that Midnight Mass debuted. Right. Like, what the fuck is this? Squid Game. I was just basically from the movie Go. I was like, I don't know, some shit. And I don't know much about K-pop at all. What I do know though is that it is so huge in South Korea and internationally, but in South Korea, people go to, I don't even know what the terminology is, so forgive me, K-pop fans, but young people, young performers enlist and they go to these K-pop camps and where they train, they get their social media taken away from them. It's like basic training. They train to be a pop star. They train to dance. They train to sing. They train, how to act, how to behave. Then they are paired up with other people and they just become a group and hope this is their ticket out. This is their Willy Wonka golden ticket, right? Out of sleeping in bed with 5 grandfathers. It's like, they do this and it's hard. It's like basically like this is their only way they can get out of being destitute. and so there's this really sort of grim just training camp element to K-pop that's this really cheery pop music. So anyway, someone who knows K-pop more than me can always write it.
But it's just kind of fascinating to observe it. I am one of the, I don't know, like I will watch Squid Game eventually. I just have a lot of things I'm watching and I'm like, I'll get to it.
No, I have too many things to watch. I can't take on no Squid shows for me.
Yeah, I'm more of like the recent Netflix stuff I haven't seen. I'm personally more like I should check out Made, which I keep hearing critically is just like, oh, this is fantastic, and I already, I like Margaret Qualley and I want to see that.
And she gets to act with her real life mom, who plays her mom on the show.
So I'm probably gonna watch that first. But it's just fascinating, like the Netflix, everything about them, and it's like their domination, but then how it's like so many things just come and go and don't get noticed or get noticed for a second, but then you get these genuine sensations. It's just the throw everything at the wall,
Well, here's
method.
the thing. Like all the stuff that was like announced and released at Tudum. Okay. This show comes out of nowhere and it's on track to be their biggest fucking hit ever.
Right.
Meanwhile, they also just got all of Seinfeld, which comes with its own weird controversy because I guess they've cropped it to, and like the way that they've widescreened it, it cuts out like actual sight gags from the show.
Right.
Which is not the first time that type of format has done that to old TV shows. But what's that Rock Ryan Reynolds Gal Gadot movie? Red Notice, I believe. Red Notice.
Yeah.
That's gonna come and go.
Of course it will.
It's gonna come and go, but they've got huge stars in it, right?
Yes.
They've got like the biggest box office star in the world for like 4 years running.
Mm-hmm.
They've got Ryan Reynolds, who everyone loves, super friendly guy because he's Canadian. And then and Gal Gadot, who we'll forget Wonder Woman 84, but that's gonna come and go because, and then out of nowhere they have the big, they have the confetti to drop over like their headlining things, but the headlining things aren't going to do shit for the most part. It's something like a Squid Game that's going to sneak in and drive subscriptions.
Yeah. But it feels like I don't know. It feels like that's their methodology. Like I don't know. It's a very fascinating.
No one's going to get Netflix for Red Notice. Like no one's going to like, I need a Netflix account. All right. That's enough about Squid Game. No messages this week. We're doing the podcast even earlier than usual, so no one probably even knew to write in. Probably no one wanted to write in.
And we
except
we had to record early in the week. I will suggest right now, let's just still post it on our usual time. But I was going to be out for a couple nights doing stuff, and then Matt's going to be out of town, so we ended up recording this early on Tuesday.
All right. So someone did send a tweet saying that I demand a full Great Aunt Dottie episode about my Aunt Dottie, who I brought up last week. I could go on and on about Aunt Dottie, but unfortunately, you can't see the student film that I made with her in it on YouTube because they pulled it because I used in the student film itself. I used bits of Mike Patton's experimental voice album, and I guess whoever the Small Hill of Beans publisher of that tracked it down somehow. I didn't even write it in the summary. I didn't write anything. They just go there. I don't even know how they find it, but they did. They found it.
They've got, it's like, it's all done mechanically. It's all like, just.
Are you saying it's done by the Matrix?
Computers, man. And it's also so strange with like copyrights and multiple owners and things. I always remember there's a go-to example for me of when Spartacus's finale aired, and at IGN, Roth and I did a finale discussion, and we used some footage from the finale because it had aired. We had some B-roll we were talking over, nothing extensive, but just a couple things here and there. And we had a very good relationship with Stars, and there was no real concern about that. And then it got pulled for a copyright thing, and it turned out to be whoever aired Spartacus in Romania, I believe. It was like got flagged by like the.
Well, who airs Spartacus in Romania? Count Dracula.
There you go.
Yeah, he's down in Transylvania, which is in Romania.
Strict on his copyright, man. So, my Alexa started talking to me. But yeah, so
does your Alexa answer to Dracula?
No, it answers to Computer because Trish said it to that because she's a big Star Trek fan. Okay. So we just say say the word, but it does become complicated because guess what? That's a word you say a lot. So in our modern day.
All right. Let's our good things to enjoy this week, Eric. Now I have to ask you, I'm going to base this on this is your call. I had said that for the remainder of the month until Halloween rolls around, I was going to do spooky offerings. I like my offering so much that I want to recommend it to people. But admittedly, it doesn't have to be recommended right now. So I could go back to something else.
I will allow it because I remember you said it was we were like, you know, a couple weeks before the end of September when you said that, and I was like, oh, we're already committing to that. So I feel like you can take this as a September slot that you gave to one of the spooky offerings.
Oh, okay. Because I started it early.
We can make arbitrary rules is the thing about it.
That's true.
So.
It's all make 'em ups. Who gives a
Sure.
shit? I was just wondering.
Your thing does have a word in the title that insinuates.
Well, it has murder in it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll start then. Mine is a series that is not yet finished. There's still 2 episodes left, so it could completely shit the bed. I don't think it will. It is in its first season, and it's also already been picked up for a season 2, so people don't have to worry about it being unceremoniously canceled just yet. It is called Only Murders in the Building. It did not come without fanfare. It arrived about 8 weeks ago, or maybe 6 weeks ago, because I think it probably debuted with 2 episodes. It stars Steve Martin and Martin Short, the 2 Martins. One has a last name.
2 amigos.
2 of the 3 amigos.
Yes.
I'm trying to remember if they've, that's a very famous collaboration between the 2 of them, and but that was also 30 plus years ago. What have they done since? I'm sure they've remained friends.
No, Martin, the 2 Martins, Martin Short and Steve Martin, have done, like, I know they did stage stuff together. Like, they've done, there was other stuff they were doing a couple years ago, I recall, actually.
But like, they're not like the 2 Coreys, is what we're saying.
They're not like the 2 Coreys, but they continued to collaborate on whatever the hell they wanted because they've got
and they just remain friends. And 3 Amigos is a great film, and so Only Murders in the Building.
Guess who's the problematic amigo? Famously so.
Yes, the problematic amigo is the one in that movie that doesn't really have a lot to do because they probably didn't give him a lot to do on purpose.
Right, and the one not in this show.
Fletch.
Right.
So Only Murders in the Building is on Hulu. It is weekly, so it is not. It is bingeable right now through episode 8, and then next week it'll be bingeable through episode 9. But there's only 2 episodes left, and it's the 2 Martins and then Selena Gomez, who
the new amigo,
as the new Chevy.
Right.
And let's see, a lot of people know Selena Gomez, I think, as a pop star, perhaps, and from Disney, because
she and the Disney, whatever the Disney.
I'm just saying because I don't know her music at all, but I do know her from Wizards of Waverly Place, which was a big hit in our household.
There was an era, going back 10 plus years. I remember going to TCA press tour, and there'd inevitably be, I think I saw Selena Gomez and Demi Lovato at press tour for their Disney show, knowing they were very popular with the youths,
and I also did, because of my household and kids, saw her in Ramona and Beezus. So I know her from acting, not from music, but I know she's got some bops. Anyway,
I know her from Spring Breakers,
which is not a Disney series
or
Disney content.
That is one of the things you do when you're like, I'm no longer a Disney star. Spring Breakers.
Okay. It is about it's about I'll do this quickly because I'm rambling because I'm tired. It's about basically 3 people who live in a New York apartment building with a lot of history. There's a lot of New York elements of this show that appeal to me as a New Yorker growing up. Mm-hmm. Just also the element of like a building that has a name and a history, and like, rich people live there, or people who used to be famous live there. And it has a courtyard, and it's just sort of a known Upper West Side. I think it's the Upper West Side they're trying to go for building. And they're 3 strangers when we meet them, and they're all lonely and sort of despondent and on sort of hard luck in their own various ways. So Steve Martin plays an actor who was once famous for a 90s cop show. Martin Short plays a once successful, although that's questionable. He did do a lot of Broadway productions and off-Broadway productions, but I don't think I've yet to hear that he made a hit. Mm-hmm. And then Selena Gomez, who's the youth here, like by a large margin, is sort of a loner art. I think she was going to go to art school, but her role is actually revealed more in the episode, the first episode. By the end, you kind of get a sense of who she is more and how she connects to the mystery. And so someone is killed in the building. It is first ruled a suicide, but then these three meet over the fact that during a fire drill in the building, the fire alarm goes off. Everyone has to go out in the street, and they all discover that they are fans of the same true crime podcast and that they are huge true crime podcast fanatics. And their wheels start turning and the juices start flowing, and not in a sexy way, where they start looking into this quote unquote suicide and start to believe that it's a murder. And not only that, they start trying to get their own podcast off the ground. And so the series is funny, it's strange, it's weird, it's sweet. I really recommend the series. The music is amazing, like the theme. There's just a part of it that is really charming, but also the mystery is really fun. Like week to week, what they add to it is, and the added element of them trying to do a podcast and finding various levels of success with that as time goes on. And Nathan Lane has a recurring role, supporting role. Tina Fey pops up. I think it's a good watch. It's also a good binge. And you know my stance on binges, Eric.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of binge, but I feel like this, at the episodes that are about a half hour, is a good binge. If you could call a show that at all.
I keep hearing great things about this show. It is on my list, and it's another show I'm prioritizing before Squid Game. This week, are the finales of two shows I've been watching weekly: Ted Lasso and What If. I'm also catching up on the final season of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, but I think this will be my next one after I do those things.
And if you just wait 2 weeks, Eric, you can watch it all.
There you go. Maybe I'll just watch the week of the finale. I'll go right into that finale. That sounds like a grand idea.
Yeah, it's good stuff. And they play it's a little meta at times, and sometimes they play around with the basically the narrator format, because sometimes it's one of them narrating, and sometimes it's like one of the fans of their podcast or the police detective who was first on the scene. And so you get perspectives from a lot of people surrounding this incident and in this building. So I like it. Okay. What is your pick?
I'll just say I looked it up. Martin Short and Steve Martin have done a lot of touring together of comedy
and Steve Martin
music banjo.
Steve Martin co-created this show.
Okay.
Yeah, and he and Short, the two Martins are executive producers as well. Selena Gomez might be as well too. I need to check, because she produced 13 Reasons Why.
That's right.
For Netflix. So she's a producer as well. Okay. What is your good thing to enjoy?
Mine is just one of those. It's funny. Sometimes I think about the fact that, anything goes, as we said on this podcast, Mac, is what we want, that I'm like, I should recommend movies that I think of as perennial and I just are so ingrained in me, but I'm like, they're always new to someone.
That was my thinking behind Session 9. Although I feel like more people have seen your pick.
More people have seen my pick, but it's still not a movie that I think like everyone has seen. There's still plenty of people who have never seen my pick, which is why I think it's a good one for spooky season. Mine is Trick or Treat. That's Trick or Treat with a apostrophe R. There's a horror movie from the 80s called Trick or Treat, OR. This is not that film. If you look up this movie, you might see it listed as 2007. You might see it listed as 2008. You might see it listed as 2009, which I'll mention why in a second. But this is a horror comedy anthology movie, telling multiple stories. In this case, though, because anthologies can be very different as far as like, are they completely no connections whatsoever? This does an overlapping thing. This is more a Pulp Fiction thing, in that it's all taking place in the same town, and timeline wise, you start to realize that things, you're not necessarily seeing everything in the order in which they occurred. Characters might cross over from one story to the other, all taking place on Halloween night.
There's a surf music. There's a samurai sword.
Yes,
there's
there's
a boxer named Butch. Yeah.
No, this movie has a bunch of connections to X-Men 2. Now, you don't want to tout quite as much that it was produced by Bryan Singer, but the writer and director was Michael Dougherty, who was one of the writers of X2, and along with that came a couple of the stars. Anna Paquin is one of the stars, and then Succession's own Brian Cox, who there's so many Coxonaissance. He always seems to come back.
We've been watching Brian Cox since the 80s.
Well, yeah,
but it was in stuff even before that, but I didn't see it.
Right, but do you just remember that era when around Bourne and X2 when he was in like everything? There was like a big era of like.
What year did Long Kiss Goodnight come out? Because he was in
96, which I'd forgotten he was in until I rewatched a few months ago. But he's in this. He's like the star of one of the stories. It's a very fun movie. Horror comedy is great when you get it right, but it's hard to get it right. But I think this one does it very well tonally. Kind of just like this sort of macabre, like fun vibe to it, while definitely being true horror and not holding back on what happens and who it happens to. It's very much about Halloween. The thing about this movie is, as I mentioned, the weirdness of like, when did it come out, is that this was a movie produced by Legendary that Warner Brothers was releasing. And for whatever reason, it kind of baffles me still that Warner Brothers had zero faith in this movie. And so it was finished by 2007. That's when it first played at like a festival. And then was supposed to, I have a teaser poster that says 2008, no month, because it was still so vague. Never came out. Played various festivals. I saw it at a festival in LA in 2008. Ultimately kind of dumped onto Blu-ray and DVD in 2009. Again, it's kind of baffling watching it because it plays so well, and I'm lucky enough to have seen it multiple times with audiences because I live in Los Angeles, where it plays a lot. Both before it came out, it played at festivals, but then New Beverly and whatnot, they played all the time. And it plays so well and really clicks in with people. It's very short, by the way. It's like 82 minute.
Yeah, I saw it at Alamo here like a bunch of years ago for Halloween. But yeah, it plays really well. It's well made. It's yet another Godzilla franchise director that we wish would go back to doing smaller horror films.
Yeah, he did Godzilla King of the Monsters.
He did. Very funny. So him and Adam Wingard need to cut this shit out and go back and make Krampus 2 or You're Still Next.
Krampus versus the Cast.
Look who's nexting. Yeah. Oh yeah, Krampus versus this season. Krampus as a guest.
There's other people you would recognize this movie, but Dylan Baker's a huge standout. Yeah,
because he's had a bunch of Baker renaissances.
Yes,
I don't know how to phrase that one.
He is great in this movie. I don't want to talk.
Good God. Brian Cox has been in 232 films.
Yeah, and about
he's been
100 of those were
55
in that late 90s, early 2000s period. Really super fun movie, and its afterlife has been considerable, and again, I kind of think makes Warner Brothers look dumb with how they treated it, because now it's clearly become a merchandising monster. And even if you haven't seen the movie, you probably recognize Sam now, who is kind of the icon at the center of this movie, because Mike Dougherty said he very much set out to make a movie that gave Halloween its character, because even though there is a very famous horror series called Halloween, it's not really about Halloween, right? Like what happens on the night of Halloween, but there's very minimal mentioning of like the mythology of Halloween. Whereas Trick or Treat is like it's a character who is like, connected to
and may or may not be like some sort of embodiment of Sam Hain.
Right. Right. And he's a very great sort of instant like classic horror character, as far as like he's adorable and mischievous and murderous all together. And there's so much merch for him. That it's amazing, and there's now been horror nights mazes for Trick or Treat, and so it's had this very impressive cult afterlife. I was at the Trick or Treat screening with Dougherty and a bunch of people in 2013, where they triumphantly announced the sequel and put the title up on screen, Trick or Treat 2, that then hasn't happened 8 years later. But even if they never make another one, it just exists as its own really fun thing that I revisit pretty much every year. It's a perennial, just like you get your Christmas perennials, you get your Halloween perennials, and Trick or Treat is that for me. It is on HBO Max, so you can check it out there if you have not.
There you go. Much easier than my actual spookier offering this week, which was rentable only. You can watch anything we recommended this week on either Hulu or HBO Max. Now, Eric, the time has come to get into the digital realm of The Matrix. Once again, The Matrix Reloaded, the sequel, is next week. I will do my best. I'm starting to feel a little drunk here with tiredness, but let's see, because this is a complex film with complex philosophies. So let's see what I can bring to the table here. My first experience with this concept, because it's a concept that's existed in philosophy and in books, like, you know, there's a lot of elements here that were influenced the Wachowskis, like William Gibson and Philip K. Dick, and even Fritz Lang's Metropolis and Kubrick's 2001. But like there was a philosopher named Robert Nozick. Now, I took a couple philosophy classes at UCLA because I just needed electives. So I took one called Philosophy of Ethical Theory. And in it, we did the paradox, or it's not a paradox, actually. It's sort of a proposal, an argument against hedonism, which is called the experience machine, which you suppose that if somebody was locked into a machine that could give them any experience they wanted, would they just want to stay in that machine forever, or would they actually want to, quote unquote, experience it for real and live their life? And you can go into, you can Google this and look for yourself. But anyway, that was my first introduction to the concept of this movie, which I will insist, and I'll probably mention this again later. This is a much better robot apocalypse than Skynet. I mean, there are moments in this movie where, you know, and I've watched it many, many times in the past 2 decades.
Sure.
Which is like, why free humanity? Especially when we get into the sequels and we start to hate the humanity in the human realm and be like, oh, Zion's terrible. But like, you know, there's an element of like Cypher was right here in that. What does it matter? And it's brought up a lot where it's like, what is real? Like, is this real? Like, you know, anyway, I'm just saying, like, Cypher makes some good points here.
About why would you want to live in this shitty world?
Right, yeah. Right. And why free these people? I'm just saying, like, at that point, with billions of people being farmed, what dent could you make? What can you do that could help you rise up into a world that's probably unlivable now? Like, as far as like breathable air and sunshine and things being able to grow for food, and like you're literally in an uninhabitable earth. Like, why free humanity? I know everyone's gone underground right now, but I'm just saying that Morpheus's pitch, and he tells you that it's awful, and all he can do is offer you the truth, is still not as good. You know, if we're talking Shark Tank here, the sharks would ultimately refuse that and go with the robot overlords. So we had this script, and I don't know how, Eric, when we lived on Ventura Canyon.
We had it on 99% sure. It's funny you mentioned that because I didn't remember that you were cognizant of this, but it was almost certainly because of Travis. Travis is the one who first told me about this movie being a thing, like that there's something in development called The Matrix. It's fucking awesome. It's the guys who made Bound. By the way, I just realized I misgendered them at the time. They were, but what he said in 1997 or whenever he said it. And so I forgot, Matt, that like we probably all had that script because Travis, it's funny that Travis Fickett, who worked, you know, at IGN as well, he would always get scripturally. He just knew people, he knew producers, because Zoolander just had its 20th anniversary, and I remember Travis had the script to that as well, and he got me that. But The Matrix, I especially remember because he talked it up to me a lot before he even got it to us. That, you know, like, oh, this is something.
Wish
really
he
cool.
Talked it up to me. Because I read it and I was like, I don't get it. I was like basically if somebody offered the role of Morpheus to Sean Connery, is like, I don't understand it. You know, like
right.
I was that guy. Like I was Will Smith. It's like, I didn't understand the pitch, so I did Wild Wild West instead of playing Neo. I kind of got what they were going for, but I also understand why the studio demanded basically a 600-page shot-for-shot storyboard for the whole film before production. Like, right. It's definitely something that is very hard, and I'm going by the script that I read at the time and my tiny brain. It was very hard to visualize, And also, I didn't get the pitch. Was like, oh well, it's going to be like anime mixed with Hong Kong action mixed with kung fu and gun fu, right? Like,
Right.
it just didn't pop off the page the way that I could understand at that time in my life. So anyway,
I remember liking it a lot more than that, but I didn't love it as much as Travis. I guess Travis could see the Matrix in his head because he was all about it. Now, I will mention, and I remember mentioning this weeks ago when we did Speed, is that, you know, the funny thing with Keanu and how he continually has to reprove himself. And some of that is people's perception of it, and some of that is bad choices he makes in between his hits. So, you know, Speed had been this big hit for him, but then he followed it with a bunch of bombs. And so the Matrix was once again, people like, even though he'd already been in some action hits, it was still like, will people buy Keanu Reeves as like a kung fu master? And there was trepidation both in the announcement, and there was trepidation in some of the early teasers, although the more people saw from the movie, the more they could show off some of those really cool visuals that started to dissipate. But I remember there was that too.
And I may have been hesitant.
I think I was.
Also because Johnny Mnemonic was terrible.
That was the other thing, is that he had just done Johnny Mnemonic. This is always a funny thing. I don't know. I say this is like, there's a million examples, but there was a very similar example at the exact same year, which was Bruce Willis had done Mercury Rising right before Sixth Sense.
So and it was both like, him and a little kid, right?
Yeah. Exactly, so when you saw another ad for like Bruce Willis and a little kid, like, oh yeah, like the terrible movie he just did. So Keanu Reeves doing like a cyberpunk movie about like computers again after Johnny Mnemonic felt like, you know, come on, man. So there was a lot of trepidation on that front that they had to get past. Although once the trailers really started to be out there started to be like growing buzz on it. I remember.
I don't know too much about this movie. I never really watched Doug. I was never a huge fan of the franchise. I really, really loved the first movie, and then the other ones fell upside. I wasn't definitely not like the people that they, you know, the old news footage came back of the people opening night for the sequel who were dressed up like Matrix characters. I understand the appeal. I understand very well the apocalypse reinvention fantasy, which is the idea of reinventing yourself, giving yourself a new name. Hell, it's happening right now in Why the Last Man. Like, as far as like, this is a new world. There are no rules except no outside food. And you can call yourself, you know, Razor Jacks or whatever that's cool, that sounds fun. Like it starts with like, could either be like a Mad Max world or a sci-fi world or a zombie apocalypse. You know, the old life sheds away. You are now invented anew, and you can machete anybody in the face with no consequences.
Right.
So that is very prevalent here, as well as, you know, now that, you know, the Wachowskis are trans women, that there a lot of people would spot a lot of trans themes in this, as far as like the red pill and like the whole idea of the world not feeling right, and like there being a splinter in your mind that you can't reconcile, and
who wrong. You really are versus who you're presenting to the world.
Right. And the alt-right tried to claim a few years ago the red pill as a meme for like wake up sheeple, you know, and radicalize people into Q or to their alt-right bullshit. And then I don't know if they're still trying to do that, but the only thing I really knew about this movie behind the scenes was just the months and months of fight training that the four principal leads did. And how much they ended up on their ass with awful injuries, or even Keanu, who like had an awful injury going into the movie. He had to have like basically a 2-level fusion of his cervical spine due to a spinal cord compression from a herniated disc, which is like a wrestler injury. Like the fused neck is like what Edge and Kurt Angle had, right? Like, which led to him sort of like not being able to do a lot of things that they wanted him to do in the movie, and he had to train differently, and that's why he also doesn't kick a lot and does a lot more hand stuff, which sounds real sexy. But yeah, so like there was, man, how many months was it? 4 months of training with a Chinese martial arts choreographer, Yun Wu Ping, who's a very famous director in China. they were doing Wire Fu, and they, so you've got Lawrence Fishburne, you've got Hugo Weaving, you've got Carrie Ann Moss, who at the time I think I only knew from Models Inc.
That's same here.
And which, for those who don't remember, was a spinoff of Melrose Place, which itself was a spinoff. Wasn't Melrose from Beverly Hills, right?
Yes.
So it was all part of that Brandon Walsh's world. We're just living.
And then and Hugo Weaving, I really would have only known from Priscilla, Queen of the Desert with Guy Pearce.
I hadn't seen it at that point, so I only knew him from this.
Okay.
I wouldn't see Priscilla until a few years later. But this movie made him kind of a big deal in America, more so.
Oh, for sure.
And then this followed by the Lord of the Rings trilogy too, because he was in that. So let's see.
I just want to say before we go into the plot of it all, I was definitely, I think I was very into this movie, and I remember watching it again tonight. Even I was like, man, I remember seeing this opening night at the Village in Westwood, which is where we used to go see almost all the big movies, with a sold out crowd of over 1,000 people, and just like having one of those like, holy fucking shit, this is the coolest shit I've ever seen. And when
they're playing Rob Zombie and Marilyn Manson and Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah.
Oh man, look at all the bullets. Yeah.
I was gonna especially say when they ended on that Rage song and the closing credits, and you heard cool digital sound effects for each credit. I was like, this is perfection. They did it. Like this is
no notes.
Did it. And again, I'm very curious to rewatch the sequels because I found them very disappointing, which I was not alone on, although I know they have the defenders. It's not a Speed 2 situation. If you've never seen these movies, do not worry. It's not like this is horrible. It's just very disappointing.
First of all the leads come back.
Yeah. All the leads. Keanu comes back.
Yeah, and I would say that
everyone wants to be there.
The sequel has one of the best action sequences ever put on film. Like it's
great. Yeah, there are highlights for sure. I'm curious to revisit it, but this first movie, of course, it was a genuine sensation, and it took off, and I definitely was part of that as far as just being so into it and excited. And there was a lot of people. I mean, I remember it got brought up a lot because it opened the 2 months before Phantom Menace, which had so much negative reaction. So there was a lot of like, oh, look at this kind of stilted sci-fi movie that is trying to revisit the past but not doing it. This is the future, the Matrix. Like this is this is the new thing.
I feel like I can say this as somebody who actually likes Cloud Atlas, which is that the Wachowskis. I feel like it's a little too harsh to say that they run hot and cold.
Yeah,
but I think they're great idea people, grand concept architects, shitty dialogue, like not the best dialogue, especially when they're trying to be light or funny or make with the jokes, and it's a little cringy. It doesn't always land, but they make up for it with action and concept and theme, and just the special effects from this. I think they won Academy Awards, this movie. And the action influenced everything came after this, like X-Men and Charlie's Angels and Daredevil, and everyone was doing this weird version of wire fu and martial arts, and also it doesn't come until bullet time was a huge deal, to the point where it wasn't just prevalent in movies after this. It was in pet food commercials,
right?
Like it was in everything used bullet time after this movie,
right? And what you're saying about it's like this movie is interesting because yes, there are moments in this movie that it's a testament to one of those movies where I think almost everything works right. That there are moments in this movie that should not work and should be like kind of cringy and cheesy, but most of them work for me because there's like a confidence to this movie. And like the vibe of this movie, just, you kind of buy into its world, that with all their films, including parts of the sequels, that's not the case. But this one, it's just like, they're firing on all cylinders.
And it's really fun when they're in the Matrix, AKA the world we think is real. And they're able to kill anyone they want, because it's been clearly established that this is Grand Theft Auto. That this, Morpheus says, like, If they are not with us, they are against us. These are human beings who are still locked in their battery cells. Many of them, I think he's just telling him to himself to feel better. Right. Many of them wouldn't even handle the truth. So just mow them down. Right. So like one of the best action sequences in the film when Trinity and Neo like go through that hallway in the lobby and gun down all these cops. It's just literally just slaughtering cops. And
but if you really think about it, are just imprisoned people in pods
who are like bubbling up blood from their mouth because they're being riddled with bullets, the way that Keanu Reeves is in the end of the movie. So they take that out of it where it's like collateral damage does not matter in this movie. And so then it becomes like a video game. Then it becomes more like a video game where you get to be like, and that's part of the fantasy, right? You get to be free guy. You know, you get to do anything you want without consequence while you're in here. Now it's not quite like free guy because they can die in the Matrix and die in real life. But the other thing I thought that was interesting that I noticed the past few times I watched this movie, it's because something I talk a lot about with Inception, which is like, I love Inception. Inception worked for whatever reason, even though it's almost 2 hours of rules and then a 30-minute action finale, like that's based on the rules that they've been talking about for 2 hours. Right. And so this movie, I don't know, like this movie kind of was like a primer for that. This movie's a lot of rules. Like Morpheus explaining what you can and can't do in the Matrix, how the agents work, what you can download into your brain. It's a lot of rules for Neo. And then it's just nonstop action for the last 40 minutes of the movie. So it reminded me a bit of Inception in that way. I always think of somebody who tweeted at me after I watched Tenet about a month or more ago. I finally broke down and watched Tenet because no one around here was ever going to re-release it in a big theater, which is where I wanted to see it. And all I remember tweeting about it myself was like, Christopher Nolan spent 2 hours talking about dream rules in Inception, but he couldn't do that for Tenet. And someone tweeted at me, it's like they briefly said something about the rules right in the first 10 minutes of the movie. There's a scientist character, and as soon as I didn't understand it, and so that's why I knew I wouldn't understand the movie, because if you don't understand that part at all, you're not going to understand the rest of the movie. They give it to you so quick, and then like you're on your own. So yeah, there's a lot of rules in this movie, but it's so fun, and it's paired with these real actors doing some incredible martial arts work themselves that you can see it's them. And so that's really fun to watch.
No, that's talking about the skepticism about Keanu. And then, the fact that it's like, wow, he's did all this training. He looks great doing it. And,
it's Keanu Reeves and he's doing stuff.
And Lawrence Fishburne, who just, nothing in his career after even you would think about him as like martial arts expert Lawrence Fishburne. But no, and Hugo Weaving in a suit has this character. Yeah, it's just, that was like the kind of cool thing about it, is like casting people you wouldn't necessarily even expect to be doing these things and then making it look so impressive. All right, we should mention the direct line from this movie to John Wick, because the John Wick guys, one of them was Keanu's stunt double. The other one was brought in on the sequels as a choreographer. And, then they ended up all collaborating again on their directorial debut with John Wick.
Well, the Wachowskis can learn something from sequels with the John Wick sequels.
There you go.
How to do them properly. It starts in Eric. I think this is the official return on We Enjoy of City.
Yes.
The city from Saw and Police Academy is back now as the city that human beings live in. Specifically, Mr. Anderson, not the wrestler, hacker named Neo is in. And it makes a little more sense that it is the Matrix, that it would be sort of like a non-named place.
Right. And also, let's get out of the way that, many people, I'm sure we did too, when we talked about this movie a few months ago, is that it's so interesting this opened a year after Dark City, which was not a hit. Because thematically, there's a lot of, in no way do I think the Wachowskis, quote unquote, ripped off Dark City. They were working on this for years beforehand. It's one of those more like something in the air, but that this opened a year later, and, the same core idea of someone is controlling humanity, making them live a life that's not really their life. And Dark City is heavily noir, but this is light noir, especially the opening with Trinity. There's like nods to noir, and I guess I read that literally a very funny thing is that the rooftops she's running over in the opening are literally Dark City sets they shot.
Leftover rooftops.
So
those good old leftover rooftops. I think that there's noir elements here. Dark City, there are people pulling the strings, though Dark City, no one's in a simulation. At least it's all actually they're doing the thing. But they're being controlled by aliens instead of robots, so it's different. I should also just mention very briefly that Longmire fans may not have recognized one of Robert Taylor's first roles as an Australian actor, because this was filmed in Australia, was one of Smith's other agents. He has two main agents with him, and he is the one who obviously looks like Longmire. So it opens with, there's a mystery going on. We don't know what's happening. I do like the fact that they're after Neo. You hear Trinity talking to Morpheus. You don't know who they are at this point. They're like, you think he's the one? Yes, I think he's the one. And later, they're like, they're after you. And then you realize the reason they're after them is because the agents hear Morpheus and Trinity constantly talking about him.
Right.
It's like if they would just shut up, they wouldn't be after Mr. Anderson.
Or use better code words. Yeah.
And it's basically this guy is can crash override if he grew up and didn't have any friends anymore and worked at a cubicle that he has not even bothered 1 ounce of decoration.
Right.
So it's this droll office drone life for him, sort of probably playing up the simulation aspect of all of this. He stays up all night. He sells hard disks to people that apparently probably have hacker codes in them. Whatever.
I was going to say, it's ambiguous what he's selling, just that it's illegal.
Yeah, and then later when Agent Smith is like, you've broken every internet law. We have any internet policy we have a law for. He's a hacker. And then the names of Morpheus and Trinity are going around the world as hackers that are fugitives, and that people in the Matrix world just think that these are actual real life people who are fugitives running from the law. Right. And he had heard of Trinity because of Trinity's hacks. Morpheus was almost caught at the Heathrow airport, in one headline says, and it's just basically they're trying to lure him in to meet Trinity, right? It's like, follow the white rabbit. Someone actually takes over his computer, leaves him a message, follow the white rabbit.
All the very, 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 very heavy Alice in Wonderland stuff, which of course the trailer for the 4th movie leans into heavily.
Yeah, and then even with his come to Matrix chat with Morpheus later, he's talking about Wonderland and the rabbit hole and all that.
And of course the entire idea of take the 2 pills that do different things.
Well, I think that the switchback here, Eric, if you will, is that Wonderland is not the world of imagination, but is actually the real world, because you live in the world of imagination. So you want to see how far the rabbit hole goes. The rabbit hole actually leads to reality here, unlike Alice in Wonderland. So
right.
I'm kind of skipping through the beginning because the beginning is the weakest part of the movie. But we are introduced to Agent Smith.
Yeah, and I was going to say, Trinity's whole escape. I think it's that the actual opening, I think, does grab you, just the look of it, and
they do the 360 around her for the kick. They're they're not holding back whatever the camera trickery that they're going to use in this movie. It already looks cool. We get a hint from her that things are mental, because remember when she's pointing at the window with her guns and she's like, "Get up, Trinity." And, at the time when people are watching it, they're like, oh, she's trying to drum up the nerve. But literally, she's trying to control herself with her mind.
Right.
And not, I know that's how we move anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We do control ourselves with our mind. So let's talk about Hugo Weaving's Agent Smith, which is at that point in the movie, we don't know what he is because we haven't seen an agent morph into a person yet.
Right. And we haven't
We
seen
don't-
them do the crazy shit they can do. Yeah.
And the entire computer simulation thing hasn't been revealed to us.
Right.
Even if we've seen the trailer, we know what the premise is. It hasn't gotten there in the movie yet. So we just think he's an actual law enforcement officer, an FBI agent of some sort, who has a very unique dialogue delivery system.
Yes.
A very notable choice with sort of a monotone voice and drawn out words that
A monotone voice, but he kind of puts a little pep on certain words in a way that's very cool. I think
terrorist. It's actually reminded me of Ben Kingsley's Mandarin. So
you know what? You're not totally wrong. I think it's an ingenious performance, especially because ultimately, at your base level, you can say he's playing a robot. I know he's technically not a robot. He's playing like a personification of the computer, he's
a sentient program. And
right.
And so, but it's like what would a sentient program do to imitate a human?
Right. And how do you not be like, I am a robot? And this was his spin on it. And I think it's fascinating.
No, it's great. And it's instantly memorable and it's instantly captivating too, because essentially Keanu is now faced with what is supposedly the most boring person on the planet.
Right.
Like this is like an NPR host to the nth degree, but Hugo Weaving manages to make it so that it's actually grabs you and is intriguing and it's fun to watch.
Yep.
It's like if somebody was super boring, but in an entertaining way,
Right.
that's what Weaving really nails here. And then things go super sideways when it's revealed that okay, these guys aren't either of this world or of this reality because they make Neo's mouths close up. And then they put a little Squidbilly in him and all that stuff.
Matt, we have to pause for a second for me to talk, not pause the podcast, just for me to say,
okay.
I have a thing. We all have things about us. I do not like anything involving things going in belly buttons. It gets me.
Eric, something comes out of the belly button, not goes in.
No, first it goes in because they drop it on.
Well, did you like it when it came out? Because it was no longer
better.
All right, better. Okay.
If I get like queasy, and it's my least favorite thing.
Wow, I've known you for over 3 decades. I had no idea.
Trish knows this very well because we once were watching some plastic surgery show where they showed a girl getting.
Well, I'm not going to ask you to read my spec script now for the called The Navel. Yeah,
please don't. It was some girl getting fake boobs, but they went up through the belly button, and I was gonna puke. But anyway, so the two things I want to say about
he's gonna puke.
Yes. So that's the main thing I want to mention is that it's hard for me to watch that part, and I have to look away. And that's my worst.
Look at it. Look at it.
But I also will say I do on little moments. I'm a little moments guy. I do like that. Before that, of course, this is going to be a story of Neo becoming a big hero. But I do like that when he is told by Morpheus how to escape, and he's supposed to go out on the ledge, and he goes, "I can't do this." That he doesn't do it. That he just is he just chickens out. And
he just turns himself in. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is a great moment, especially because Morpheus has everything riding on this, including his own well-being and like his entire life spent looking for the one, which we would learn. So the one was somebody who was just born special and could operate the Matrix and control it to however they wanted to. And the one apparently existed a long time ago and woke up the first people. I guess I don't think Morpheus was one of those first people, or else he would know who the one was. Like he would have known the previous one. He doesn't. The Oracle just prophesies that the one will return. I don't know if Keanu looks like the old one, or if there's, the one can always look different, like Doctor Who.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the one this time around does not know they're the one and has to sort of stumble across it. I wonder how Matrix Resurrections work. Is he a new incarnation of the one? I don't know.
Right. I will say that it was also an interesting time in pop culture because, yes, the concept of a chosen one is a trope going back centuries. However,
secretly special.
Yes, but this was particularly huge time for it. Again, this movie opened 2 months apart from Phantom Menace, which has a huge plot point, the chosen one. Also, though we're 2 years away from the first Harry Potter movie, the books are exploding, and they're also about a chosen one, to the point that there was a lot of backlash and people have been like, I don't want any more chosen one heroes, which I get, but it was something that just in the late 90s, who knows what was in the zeitgeist, it was particularly a go-to.
It was, and it still is in a lot of YA.
It still is, but it just felt like
a lot of YA books and or TV shows, but it's like secretly special. Your father was a demon, or something like that. Or you're actually royalty, and you didn't know. So, okay. Then let's just skip through to the Morpheus scene. They send him out into the world with something in that inserted into a part of the anatomy that I won't say because Eric doesn't like it. That is like a tracker, but then he gets in a car with these shadowy clandestine warriors, and they rip it out of his body part that I won't mention, and they take him to see Morpheus. Now, the thing about Morpheus that's interesting here. I understand how it works as an audience member going through a movie and having the story presented to me. I don't know what Morpheus is doing though. Why Morpheus has to come at Neo like he's all like really cryptic and almost as monotone like Agent Smith, to the point where I know where it's meant, where we're supposed to doubt who he is. Is he like Agent Smith? He's also wearing sunglasses. He's also delivering lines in a way that's very performance based, like he's putting on a show for him, right? Whereas everyone who comes into the Matrix, with, I can't remember what Morpheus calls it, like your projection of yourself, where you just come out wearing these cool black clothes or something like that, and you don't look like the Uggo you did back on the Nebuchadnezzar.
Yeah, it's funny because I wanted to mention this as well, that Lawrence Fishburne, great actor, also doing a very mannered performance that I do think also works, by the way. But it is, again, this is why this first movie is so impressive, in that there's a lot of things that might not have worked, and the fact that you now have both the main villain and the main mentor has like weirdly speaking guys. Is interesting, but I do think Morpheus, with his very, specific way of talking, easy to parody, but I do think Fishburne ultimately kind of sells it.
He's really good. I just think it was originally meant to throw us off and make us think that he is also not what he seems, just like Agent Smith. That it's all still a mystery and we're figuring it out. We won't know the truth for a few minutes later, but the only story that I have crafted in my head about why Morpheus as a character would decide to present himself in this way to Neo is that maybe over time he's found that this is the best way to wake someone up. Like he's tried other ways and it didn't work and it didn't take, and the people freaked out. But so I need to come at him like this. I need to say, all I can promise you is the truth. Offer them a choice between the pills. They can opt out if they want, like the chicken out spots in Space Mountain. And this is what works. And I've honed this performance over decades of both successes and failures to what it is right now.
It's funny that scene also, it's like, because watching it, you might be like, just tell him exactly what the Matrix is. And then there's this line of dialogue, which someone pointed out was recently, I can't remember who, someone we follow on Twitter, an ingenious bit of marketing, because they could put it on the trailers, which is Morpheus saying, unfortunately, you cannot be told what the Matrix is, you have to see it, which was using the trailer very pointedly. Like, you have to go see it.
You just reminded me, because I watched a shit ton of horror movie trailers last night, that, man, we need to get back to horror movie trailers promising to make you fucking go insane or have a heart attack, or you need to sign a waiver, or it's like, this movie's not for the faint of heart,
yourself, it's only a movie,
or it's a challenge. Like, can you make it all the way through? Can you eat this whole pizza, or can you make it all the way through this, Satan's Helpers movie? I know that was the biker gang from Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Anyway, and like, now we don't do it at all. We don't like, there's no dares for our horror movies. Which also brings us back to Crazy People, where the freak, it'll fuck you up for life.
For life. Yeah.
All right. So he chooses the red pill. it's not symbolic act. It is symbolic, but it isn't, because that actually contains a program that helps the those on the Nebuchadnezzar find Neo within the
like who, where is his physical body?
The labyrinth of billions of slimy fetus people like that are being found.
And great visuals here. This movie's ingeniously designed, and so it's this biomechanic, very H.R. Geiger type visual of him hooked up, to these tubes.
Yeah, where's your sexy Keanu now, all slimy and bald?
Right. But it's got that alien like tubing that looks like almost like it's living, going into him.
Plus water slide. Whee!
Yay!
How do you feel about tubes in someone's head, Eric? Are you okay with that?
I'm fine. I'm fine with that. I have a very specific place.
I'm saying, yeah, but if the tube goes in that hole, no, thank you.
No, but heads are fine. Also, I always like when they do their best to explain their nonsense. And so I like that it's like they're like, hey, you've never moved. So like your muscle, we have to rebuild your muscles.
That makes sense. And you've never used your eyes. And I don't know how they know how to bring people back, but they do. So we just buy it. Again, I'm going to say this once more. Still better than Skynet Robot Apocalypse, where all they wanted to do was literally obliterate and wipe out humanity. Here, everyone gets to live a life.
Power.
And whether or not you're actually experiencing something, like, again, this is brought up in the movie as well. Like, what is experience? It's just what your senses tell you that you're going through. Anyway, so then, we down Splash Mountain and onto the Nebuchadnezzar. And then we get the explanation. We get... this is the Matrix. We can plug your brain in. You can go in this room. I can explain to you what happened. 200 years ago, AI started to take over.
Right.
And there was a war. We thought we could trick them by blocking out the sun. That backfired. Now they just keep us like batteries. It is interesting that it's kind of brought up later during like the meal scene where everybody, how you have a thing against belly buttons, Eric?
Yeah.
I have a thing against people holding their spoons like a bike handle. That fucking street urchin Dickensian way of like holding a porridge spoon that's like from the side. Fuck that. Oh, I can't take it. And they're all eating that glop like it. Ugh, just revolting. Okay, so, but it's kind of brought up there when Mouse is talking about, by the way, another side tangent to my already side tangent is like everyone gets a cool name, but Mouse gets, I feel like he was named Mouse and didn't have a say in it. And this is sludge fuck, like it's like, hey, he's like, yeah, how do the computers know what this breakfast cereal tasted like? Maybe it really tastes like chicken. Maybe they mix stuff up, because the people on that ship, even Tank, who wasn't even in the Matrix, make pop culture references. It's a little thing that drives me crazy. Where it's like Cypher's like, you're not in Kansas anymore. And then Tank gives him his slop and he's like, breakfast of champions. And like, this is not stuff that they should know. Unless within the Matrix world, Wizard of Oz still exists.
Because if again, we don't go deep enough to know, but if we're specifically are told the Matrix is recreating 1999, the year the movie came out. So let's just presume they have the pop culture of 1999.
Well,
so,
then even then, Mikey Likes It is still a way outdated reference.
Yeah, I'll allow it. All
right. Then we get, and he shows Neo the world. Neo's, as we could gather, not too pleased to learn the truth. It's kind of sucks. And a lot of people just want to go back into the cocoon. I get it. And then they start their training, which is fucking awesome. Like downloading jujitsu, downloading kung fu.
The training sequences are a often crowd pleasing aspect, but this was a new way of doing it, and just ultra cool and super fun. And along the way, you've got Keanu delivering the so many of these, there's a movie that everyone quotes, and there's a million, every line is like quotable and what, and I know kung fu and all this stuff. And by the way, like Keanu, again, we talked about this when we were talking about Speed. It's like, I don't want to damn him with faint praise, because he's a legitimate like star for a reason, and he's great in a lot of things, but because it's like this plays to his strengths, as far as like, naive, but pure of heart, and just like learning all this stuff,
he gives us one of his more genuine woes, during the rooftop jumping part, but
which again, a line that he already was famous for from Bill and Ted, but here got to bring back in a big way.
So I think there's also just something outside of the movie itself that adds a layer of excellence to this, is like that they did it for real. We can see them doing it. There's no cutaway to stunt performers. It's like all them.
Yeah.
And that it took a lot of fucking work. And so that's a added bonus that we can appreciate, that really just turns the dial up, the volume up on the scene in general. So yeah.
Just because, I think we grew up, especially with like, action movies having to like cut away to stunt doubles so much, and that the fact that this was, just being so,
because they were going, the Wachowskis were going for the movies where they would see the, in the Hong Kong action movies where they would see the performers doing the stunts.
Yep.
Jackie Chan ruined us. So Tank briefly mentioned Zion. He's like, what's Zion? He's like, well, when we win, that's where the party will be at. More on that later. Fucking Zion. Zion's a big ass bummer. So not that they don't party. Like, Tank was right about that. Also, wasn't there something weird with the actor who plays Tank?
There was. Because by the way, it's like he's very likable. That scene where he's talking about like, a very exciting time. Like, I really like his delivery there. Very charismatic. Notably not in the sequels, even though he lives. Gets a big surprise I'm alive moment. And it sounds like some crazy shit happened with the actor, where he was asking for way more money than he could for a role he had, a supporting role, and then started getting threatening, when they weren't meeting his demands, and then sued Warner Brothers because when they ended up ultimately not bringing him back, saying that you labeled me a terrorist, that you and the Wachowskis labeled me a terrorist. Just a lot of drama around.
Well, he showed them because he hasn't acted since 2010, but he was in Crow Wicked Prayer, and
he was on an episode of Burn Notice, I believe.
Yeah, well, that was his last thing. All right.
Now I'm done.
Well, he was in 24 episodes of Street Justice, whatever that
there
was.
You go.
So, where are my notes? Notes. All right. We don't want this to go forever because this is a long movie. This is not a tight 90.
No.
So then basically we get the whole thing like, you're the one, he believes you're the one. Cypher, played by Joe Pantoliano, who the Wachowskis had worked with on Bound, is notably kind of creepy. He's friendly, but he's creepy. He's suspicious.
And he's the sarcastic one.
He likes Trinity because he's like, you never brought me, slop in a bucket, or I can't remember what she did. And he also gives away his motive already. Like, he's just telling anyone who will listen, the new guy, he's like, I wish I'd taken that blue pill.
Right.
So, and
to the movie's credit, I've forgotten how early the reveal that he's a mole.
Yeah, and the scene when he betrays them is great. The scene when he dies is not. Like, I really wanted a better like send off for Cypher, and I just felt like it wasn't the full closure, because like him going around and unplugging.
Oh man, yeah.
Twitch and Blipvarp. I can't remember all the names.
And great scene and great like sort of physicality to it. He's being super creepy with Trinity, but then when he kind of like jumps on Morpheus. Joey Pants knocking out of the park. He had worked already with the Wachowskis on Bound, and he's obviously always great.
Switch.
Yes.
And I don't remember the dude's name.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, APOC.
Mm-hmm.
APOC. And then Dozer and Tank are the ones on the ship. Okay,
Yeah.
so yeah, and he kills Dozer, not Tank though. Tank survives. So, but then he's killed off so quickly. I understand he's not the main villain at all. We've got Agent Smith here, but like, I just felt like that was it's a really cool midpoint like villain moment. Thins the herd, and he deserved like something a little better than what he got. All right, even if they manage to send him back into the Matrix, but he's like a fucking he's a bum. I don't know.
It
would have been funny. What if he was the bum at the end in the subway station? Like they put him.
I also made a huge impression on me was when he goes Joey Pants delivery, but when he goes, the Matrix is telling my brain that it's juicy and delicious. So he says juicy, describing that state.
It's juicy and it belongs in my belly button.
And it made me laugh at the and I sat through the credits watching it tonight, and the fact that the end of the movie points you to the website whatisthematrix.com, which by the way has been reactivated for the sequel, the new one, but it told you a password. It said go to whatisthematrix.com, password steak. So I checked it tonight. You don't need to put in a password in 2021. I wish it was juicy. I still appreciated that it referenced the juicy scene.
All right. Let's briefly talk Oracle. There's a character that lives within the Matrix who is a predictor of things. I don't think we get the full explanation of what the Oracle is, if she is someone who's actually in a tube or if she's a program. She's a program, right? She has to be. I can't remember. Maybe they just, even Wikipedia just said she's a prophet who helps free humans. Right. Like we don't know what her do. Maybe I can't remember if either two sequels go further into it. There will be an actor change though, because Gloria Foster passed away in between
after
movies.
The second one.
So by the third movie, it'll be a different actor. So, okay. She gives Neo some shit. She's like, you're not the one. Later, we would just find out that she's lying to him because she just tells you what you need to hear. She doesn't tell you the truth like Morpheus does. She tells you making her another puppet master in a way. Mm-hmm. Right. And I think that plays into the unsatisfying end to the whole thing that we'll get to, which is like everything is fated. and all the moments of free will that made audiences cheer weren't that. And I think that's, the what we all barrel towards in the third movie. And one of the reasons why it feels like such a flat ending and why I'm more excited for the new movie, because it has a chance to do a redo on all of that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she is just another sort of manipulator in a way. Very friendly. Yeah. Has a lobby full of kids who are also tryouts, I guess, for
one potentials. Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
No, that's what it seemed like.
Yeah, you get your famous "there is no spoon" line in that scene.
But who's bringing them there?
Right. Are there other Morpheus types?
Right. Are there other Ravagers out there stealing kids?
Right.
He just happened to get to Thomas Anderson a bit too late, and it's like, oh, he's already grown. Oh no. All right. Then let's get into Cypher's betrayal. We already touched on a bit because they go back in to talk to the Oracle. This is when Cypher decides to make his move, leads to the capture of Morpheus. Then we really start from Cypher's betrayal on, getting into just a nonstop train where each car is like a really cool action moment.
Yes, yeah.
Like, until the end of the movie. It just goes on and on. Like there's a brief moment when they return to the Nebuchadnezzar, but it's not long. But yeah, from here, the team goes down. They try to escape through a wall. We get the fight between Morpheus and Smith, where we see Smith fight for the first time, like officially fight. The whole concept and the imagery of agents taking over people is really cool. Yep. The way the people freeze and sort of glitch out, and then like the agent takes over their body. Like that's
got me really excited in one of the many things in the trailer for the new one when you see that happen.
Oh yeah. Like when it happens to that helicopter pilot, like because that was in the trailer for this movie. Like it looks really awesome. Then the rescue. They go back and they're like contemplating whether or not to unplug Morpheus before he gives away Zion or whatever. Who cares about Zion? And Neo's like, I can go back in. Trinity's like, I'm going with you. I know I'm rushing here, but
That's good.
it leads into the lobby shootout, the rooftop fights, which is where we get the full bullet time.
Yep. The lobby shootout, I also want to mention, besides being morally questionable, is awesome. And
it's not. Didn't you hear Morpheus?
Yeah, it's true, right? It's awesome. And never had besides, you know, the fetishized like bullets falling, the debris flying and has never looked better. Like it was like everything in slow-mo and like just the walls being shot out and debris flying everywhere.
I do
looks great.
Wonder if some reason it doesn't bother me in this, because bullet time is accompanied by the 360 camera movement where the camera's moving regular speed, but everything else is frozen or slow-mo. The use of slow-mo in this movie as well as bullet time. It's kind of like our discussion about how Flash's Speed Force is shown in Justice League as slow motion, but then the rest of the movie is also slow motion. Where it's like you're using slow motion for just cool action moments, but also superpowers. So the line gets a little blurred there. But with bullet time being so new, I think there was really no confusion here about what was happening. Also, because we just saw an agent do it, like dodge bullets from a normal person's point of view.
Right. And that's Trinity's whole thing is that no human has ever done what those agents can do physically. And
they also do a good job in this movie building up agents. Like no one's fought an agent and lived. If you see an agent run, like, and they're scary. They're terrifying. Yep. So it's pretty cool. The taking over of the helicopter, the shooting the Gatling gun through the window, Morpheus getting shot in the leg, dive out the window, catch him, helicopter crash, Trinity into the side of the building. Just a lot of really awesome stuff in a row, leading to Neo versus Smith, round one, where it's technically a draw, but Neo kind of wins by not dying. Yeah, I guess. Where we get to see them go at it, and it's awesome in the subway. And you know, he gets to hurt Smith and like break his sunglasses, and watching Hugo Weaving's style of fighting and how it differs from Keanu's and Lawrence Fishburne's, and how he's just more of like a brute force thug who operates a lot more directly and with less finesse. I think it's cool for an agent. And then the chase through city. Yep. Where the agents keep taking over people, including that one really cool moment where it's like a woman in an apartment, and then the only thing really indicating that they turned into an agent was the knife thrown into the wall. Like it's really fun. Leading to Neo becoming the one, where the kiss of life brings him back to life, because the Oracle told Trinity that she will fall in love with the man you fall in love with will be the one. And because she loves Neo, he must be the one. And that's enough for him to get up from multiple gunshot wounds, see the world in Matrix code, and be able to, and then pay off the line from earlier in the movie where he's like, you mean I'll be able to dodge bullets? And he said, when the time is right, you won't have to. So not only do we see him dodge bullets, but then we also get the payoff of you won't have to. So we get to see it twofold. We get to see the dodging of the bullets, and then we get to see the literal controlling and freezing, basically telekinetically Magneto style of the bullets. And then going into Smith and like breaking him apart, but not before humiliating him by speedster style, like blocking all of his attacks with one arm. Again, it's just sort of a long thread of awesome action beats. And it really is really well done with effects that I've been talking to my son a lot about effects, because we've been rewatching Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit movies, which aren't the greatest, but how all CG is going to be dated no matter what. But there are different levels and quality of CG. Like Lord of the Rings, for the most part, that trilogy super still holds up, even though there are elements of computer effects that are very noticeable. They were still noticeable at the time. But those Hobbit movies, which came out almost a decade later, or not quite a decade, but like enough years later, where there was so much more CGI and it looked so much worse.
Yeah.
And you wonder like why and how, like why it looks so bad. And that was notable for me in Peter Jackson's King Kong too. Like the Monster Island stuff, not the Kong versus the dinosaurs fights, but like the little creature stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
The CG wasn't good, and it looks worse now. But anyway, my point being, all the effects here, while they may slowly have become more dated over time, still hold up. Like they still hold up the way you would hope something that's a little more than 20 years old holds up.
They very much do. And then it has a little bit of a nice thing that kind of gives it a slight out, or at least gives, I think, people give it a little more leeway, which is the whole idea that this is all a computer simulation lets you kind of go a little more with, like, if it looks a little digital to you, that's okay. Like, you know, it's like it's supposed to be. Not obviously the stuff in the real world, but most of this movie is inside the Matrix. It's like, hey, it can look a little digital. Because it is like literally the plot of the movie is that it is digital.
And so it all works great. Like when the glass on that skyscraper explodes behind Trinity, who then crashes into the glass, you know, swinging, like that's an awesome scene.
Yep. And it's funny, we talked about, I think 90% of the time this movie manages to sell things that might be cheesy otherwise. One that didn't quite ever land for me in the middle of my fucking love in this movie is he's beginning to believe. It's just one of those moments that, you know, for a split second doesn't. It's just for whatever reason, like that.
Eric, that's when he becomes the one. That's like
it is when he becomes the one.
When Leroy becomes the last dragon, when he gets the glow. Like when you believe, you achieve. I mean,
sure.
All right, don't shit on that, Eric. Come on. No, there are lines in this movie that absolutely bug me, and I've mentioned a few of them, but they're there, you know, like I just deal with them because I'm a grown ass adult and the movie's still awesome. But and then he calls I don't think any project has loved payphones more than this movie except Person of Interest. Like,
which is funny because by 1999,
when it comes to computers,
by 1989, payphones were barely around already. So it is funny that
take 10 years later and then tell that to Jonathan Nolan and his use of payphones in Person of Interest.
But this is a great, you know, this movie. The thing is that it if there was never a sequel, this is completely satisfying movie. I feel like it's like the way it ends. Yes, it's on one hand you could say it's a superhero origin story, and it is to some extent. But the way it ends, the way he's like, I know how to stop you now. I know I'm gonna wake up everyone. It feels very complete in and of itself. You know.
It's funny because with Dexter coming back in about a month, and you know the ending being bad to that show and sort of retroactively tainting the rest of the series, which it shouldn't, because there's at least half of that, half of the years that show was on, it was really good. Mm-hmm. And it was unique and it was something people hadn't seen before and were really into. And it was a big pop culture thing. But, you know, how effective is it to, in your mind, when sequels aren't good, stop with the first one? Now, I think it's pretty easy. So you can obviously stop with the first Speed, especially since Keanu isn't in the sequel.
Right.
I think you and I are also both good with stopping at Aliens. Mm-hmm. You know, if in story wise, like 3 and 4, I don't think 4 was dreadful, but like I don't need it. Like I still can stop with Aliens. I could still just have Alien and Aliens, and I'm fine. And those still work even with Prometheus and Covenant. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't matter because those are prequels. But yeah, like, can you stop Dexter with just season 4 if you want? Or
I think I mentioned this a few weeks ago, but it's like with the Matrix, I do think when the sequels came out and they were so hyped up, and you know they made a lot of money, especially the second one, but they were poorly received for a little while. It hurt the reputation of the first one just because people's thoughts of the Matrix were of disappointment because of those 2 big sequels. But then it came back around a few years later because people just started to remember and also just watch again. I know that was me personally when I went to see it a few years ago when it played at the ArcLight Sherman Oaks. like, oh yeah, this first movie stands on its own, works completely, just start to finish. It's just a fucking great movie. And sometimes you just need a little bit of that distance, for that to happen again.
I mean, it wouldn't stop me from wanting to know what happened next.
No, of course not.
Because you're literally saying, I'm not, I'm telling you that this is all beginning. And you're like, yay, I do want to see more. But because we did see more, we're like, yay, it can end here.
Right.
This is fine. But, we're going to have to accept that 2 and 3 exist with this new movie. Maybe. I mean, how much, though? We'll have to find out. We'll have to find out how much they matter. It would be really fun if Samara Weaving were in this movie as an agent.
Like her uncle. As we wrap it up here, I'll mention that this movie very recently had, a little adjacent pop culture thing in that Will Smith, it was not a new information that he turned down this movie, but he had never kind of told the story in the way he did recently, like on his own YouTube channel. He told, and it was a funny Will Smith charismatic telling of the fact that the Wachowskis were terrible at pitching. And so what they
who they should have gotten to pitch it? Travis.
Right.
He sold you on it. Yeah.
What they were explaining to him sounded like nonsense. And then of course the movie's fucking awesome, but that, him ultimately being like, look, he did Wild Wild West instead, which he says this is his worst movie. And he's, of course, it's a bit,
but why not go with the director you've worked with before and had success with?
Oh yeah. Right? Yeah. And also just being like, hey, that was Keanu's movie. But then interesting thing he mentioned here is that if he had done it, his Morpheus was going to be Val Kilmer. That was the plan, was like that would be the pairing. And he makes a very, very true observation about how Hollywood works, especially 20 something years ago, which is, if I was Neo, there's no way Lawrence Fishburne would be Morpheus because they wouldn't have casted 2 black guys. And he's sadly right. They would have been like, okay, well, who's the white guy? Okay, it would have been Val Kilmer. Also, though, I thought, oh, interesting, Val Kilmer would have been such a younger kind of incarnation of Morpheus, only to find out, no, Val Kilmer is older than Lawrence Fishburne. Lawrence Fishburne was 38 when The Matrix came out. He's just always seemed older. I mean, he famously was 13 doing Apocalypse Now, playing a few years older. So I was shocked that Lawrence Fishburne was not even in his 40s doing this movie, and extra shocked that he was younger than Val Kilmer, and that I was totally wrong, that Val Kilmer would have played younger. Val Kilmer would have felt like a younger Morpheus, but he actually technically would not have been.
I also wasn't, it sounded like a joke, but I wasn't joking when I said, Sean Connery as Morpheus.
Oh, do you?
He turned down Morpheus. He turned down Gandalf and Dumbledore too. Like, Sean Connery had a hard time getting things. Like, I don't understand it. So,
and then infamously did the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen because at the time it was kind of a frustration of his and his representation that he turned down what turned into these mega franchises.
And then he did the one that didn't succeed. Yeah.
Right.
All right.
Whoops. Wah, wah.
Sean Connery.
That was The Matrix. It's great.
It is. It's good. The next 2 will be less so, especially. I think it's diminishing returns.
But I'm very curious to revisit them. Yeah, I also remember them as diminishing returns.
I remember the CG getting a little wonkier as well.
Yep.
So maybe that was just a thing that happened in the aughts where it's like, oh, it actually sucks now.
You feel more and more physically disconnected. I mean, although I think it's not as bad with Revenge of the Sith, the worst sort of CGI is Attack of the Clones with Star Wars. It's like that second one, which was 2002, around the exact same time as the Matrix sequels. That's the one that feels the most like digital, the fact that George Lucas even made the decision that I won't even put people in the clone trooper suits. It'll all be digital people because I can. And it dates it instantly because while he was cutting edge, it wasn't where it would get. And so it just dates it so much more. And you watch Attack of the Clones, and I think it's the worst looking Star Wars movie in a lot of ways, even though there's some very creative visuals in it. It's just the fact that it's it's all looks like digital. I remember it looking bad at the time.
Mm-hmm, so it's not even something I look back at decades later and be like, oh, that sucks now. That sucked then.
Yeah. I mean, it looks worse now.
I'm just saying, nobody liked it then. Nobody was like, oh, this is great. We're going to live forever.
Right. I mean, I just felt that anyway, but yeah.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for diving into the Matrix with us. Wire tripping, jacking in. That's actually Strange Days, but you know what I'm saying. And we'll be back reloaded next week with a Loaded Nachos main event of Matrix Reloaded. And until then, everything is possible, but nothing is real because you're living in the goddamn Matrix. And Shakma.
Shakma.